time, I was thinking, big deal. He's going to come up, fix the comms, and go back in. That's what I thought.
I did too. I thought, well, this isn't going to stop things proceeding. It's just a glitch.
For more than 220 years, Oak Island has stood at the center of one of the world's most enduring mysteries. Countless expeditions have searched its underground tunnels, yet the island continues to guard a secret that refuses to be fully uncovered. Recently, however, a quiet remark from Rick Lagina has drawn new attention to a discovery that could change everything. Investigators have identified what appears to be a sealed underground chamber, reinforced with engineered stone and protected by complex flooding systems designed to activate if the site is opened incorrectly. Experts estimate the structure could contain materials worth nearly $98 million, but researchers believe the real significance may go far beyond treasure. Emerging evidence suggests a possible connection to the Knights Templar, raising the possibility that Oak Island was designed not just to hide valuables, but to protect evidence capable of reshaping accepted history. If the chamber is finally opened, the mystery that has lasted centuries may at last be solved. Subscribe now, because the next discovery could reveal what Oak Island has been hiding all along. The discovery itself was announced almost quietly, a strange contrast to its potential importance. After months of failed boreholes and inconclusive sonar sweeps, the team finally detected an anomaly, a perfectly sealed void nearly 180 feet beneath the swamp. No historical excavation records referenced it, and geological models insisted such a cavity shouldn't exist at that depth. Yet the scans were unmistakable. A hollow space carved directly into solid bedrock, positioned beneath a tunnel aligned precisely with the original money pit. For Rick, this wasn't just another promising lead. It was the kind of anomaly the team had been searching for over years of frustration. Something undeniably out of place. Early scan data only intensified the mystery. Density readings revealed metal concentrations far too large to be natural, yet too orderly to be scattered debris. Instead of randomness, the structure showed signs of layered construction, deliberate alignment, and engineered symmetry, including a secondary shaft that appears on no 18th century recovery map. That was the moment investigators realized this chamber wasn't the work of early settlers or treasure hunters. It had been designed, planned, and built long before anyone officially recorded setting foot on Oak Island. When the scan results appeared, Rick's reaction was captured on camera. This could be the original vault. Eventually, the team managed to breach the outer seal of the chamber. The first sight inside was stone, hand-shaped, smoothed by time, and clearly marked. At the base of the entrance sat a limestone slab, roughly the size of a doorway, engraved with a symbol none of them considered accidental: a worn cross pate, the same emblem historically associated with the Knights Templar. The erosion pattern suggested the carving was centuries old, and later testing confirmed the slab predated colonial settlements, even earlier than the first European maps of the region. What surprised researchers even more than the symbol was the method of preservation. The stone had been sealed with marine clay, a technique known to shield materials from saltwater damage. Such planning indicated that whoever built the chamber possessed advanced knowledge of geology and structural engineering for their time. Along the slab's edge, almost hidden beneath mineral buildup, faint engraved lines formed patterns that archaeologists later recognized as matching symbols found in Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel, a site long connected to Templar legends. When Marty Lagina saw the comparison results, his expression alone told the story. This was no longer speculation. For the first time, there was tangible evidence connecting the Knights Templar directly to Oak Island. The link wasn't symbolic or theoretical anymore. It was physical, etched into stone and preserved beneath layers of sediment for nearly 600 years. Yet the discovery that followed would push the mystery even further. As excavation progressed deeper into the bedrock, the radar team conducted another scan. The new readings returned something remarkable. Perfectly spaced signals repeating in steady intervals, metallic reflections echoing through the chamber. Whatever rested below was clearly arranged with intention. The patterns revealed organized rows, shapes far too uniform to be natural rock or scattered debris. Rick authorized a micro-drill probe, a precise operation designed to retrieve microscopic samples without destabilizing the chamber. When the drill was withdrawn and the sample tray examined, the results spoke volumes. Fine quartz powder, mixed with tiny flecks of gold, appeared in the tray. Not raw ore, but refined metal. Melted and worked long ago, the kind typically associated with crafted relics rather than loose coinage. For the first time in years, Rick allowed his usual caution to slip. Looking directly at the camera, he said the words that would ripple across Oak Island discussions worldwide. We may not be chasing a legend anymore, we might be standing on it. That single statement shifted the entire narrative. If the gold, buried beneath Oak Island, had been processed centuries before Europeans officially reached Nova Scotia, the search was no longer simply about treasure. It had become an investigation into forgotten history. Answers, however, wouldn't come solely from excavation. They would have to be found in historical records. Deep within the French naval archives in La Rochelle, a maritime historian studying colonial shipping routes uncovered a neglected chart dated 1701. The fragile map carried a name that immediately captured Rick and Marty's attention. L'Île Perdue, the island of lost gold. After correcting for centuries of magnetic drift, the coordinates aligned strikingly well with the outline of Oak Island. Even more surprising were the handwritten notes along the margins. Written in a blend of Latin and Old French, they referenced the temple's coffers, described as sealed beneath layers of engineered stone traps designed to collapse if disturbed. When the brothers compared the chart to their excavation grid, the match was unsettlingly precise. The chamber they had just entered sat almost exactly where the map marked the central cache. Marty called it an extraordinary coincidence. Rick wasn't so sure. Someone in France had documented this location centuries before Oak Island was formally recorded. That suggested the secret of the vault had survived the fall of the Templars, perhaps carried across the Atlantic by sailors fleeing the purge of the Order. Historical research repeatedly pointed toward a mysterious vessel often mentioned, then scratched out, in French port ledgers, a ship nicknamed La Rochelle's Ghost, rumored to have vanished during the arrests of 1307. Some historians believed the vessel escaped under a false identity and disappeared into the western seas. The newly discovered chart seemed to support that theory, hinting that Oak Island may have been the final destination of a carefully planned voyage, a sanctuary for something the French crown was never meant to recover. Meanwhile, excavation inside the chamber continued. As sediment was cleared from a newly mapped tunnel, a worker noticed a faint metallic glimmer embedded in the limestone. What first appeared to be a thin wire turned out, upon closer inspection, to be a fragment of a small brass chain, fused into the rock like a fossil. After careful cleaning and magnification, the tiny links revealed intricate engravings, each shaped in the form of the Templar cross. This was no decorative object. It resembled ceremonial regalia, possibly part of the chains worn by high-ranking members of the Order. Laboratory analysis confirmed the artifact was neither colonial nor modern. Its alloy composition matched 13th century French metallurgy, closely resembling chains previously recovered from known Templar burial sites. Every technical detail, from the soldering technique to the metal's composition, pointed directly to medieval Europe. The implications were staggering. The artifact existed more than a century before any officially recorded European presence in the region. Yet an even greater surprise lay beneath it. As the surrounding soil was carefully brushed away, the team uncovered a small lidded container, light enough to lift by hand, but so corroded it seemed ready to fall apart. Its seams were sealed with hardened wax and resin. Inside, astonishingly preserved by centuries of oxygen-poor mud, rested a folded fragment of parchment still partially coated in protective wax. Under controlled conservation conditions, the parchment was slowly opened. Faint lines of medieval French writing emerged, the ink still visible after centuries underground. The translated text sent a chill through the room. It referenced the Great Ark and warned of the secret beneath the rose. Both phrases known in Templar scholarship as coded references. The Ark symbolizing sacred relics removed from Jerusalem, and the rose representing the vow of secrecy guarding divine knowledge. Handwriting experts compared the script with documented Templar records preserved in French National Archives. One striking match corresponded to a clerical scribe active in Paris until the very year the order was condemned in 1307, placing the parchment firmly within the final days of the Templars. Infrared imaging later revealed an additional hidden feature. The first letters of each line formed an acrostic spelling Domus Dei, Latin for House of God. Among Templar historians, the phrase signified the inner sanctuary where the order's most sacred objects were believed to have been safeguarded before vanishing from Europe. Rick studied the translation quietly before speaking. Whoever hid this didn't intend for it to disappear. They intended it to be remembered, but only by those who knew how to read the signs. The chain, the parchment, and the centuries-old map were no longer isolated discoveries. Together, they formed a continuous trail stretching from medieval France across the Atlantic to the swamps of Nova Scotia. To the Lagina team, the conclusion was unmistakable. The vault was not a legend born of rumor. It had been deliberately constructed, concealed, and protected for purposes far beyond the promise of gold. And whoever designed the system behind it possessed knowledge of engineering, navigation, and concealment that seemed far ahead of their time. If those artifacts had truly been left as markers, then perhaps the structure beneath them was never meant to welcome visitors, only to keep intruders away. With that idea in mind, the team adjusted their borehole coordinates and began probing the area just beyond the vault's alignment. What they encountered overturned everything earlier surveys had suggested. The next chamber was unlike anything previously discovered. Instead of rough stone or collapsed debris, the structure showed clear signs of deliberate engineering. As the drill descended through layers of sediment, the borehole camera captured a remarkable sight: a lattice of wood and brass embedded directly into the bedrock. This was not a natural formation. It was a constructed mechanism, a defensive system. Heavy timber beams were connected by brass pulleys, and water control valves arranged in a cross-shaped configuration, forming an intricate counterweight network similar to rigging systems used on medieval ships. Each component was linked to another, creating a delicate mechanical chain reaction. A single wrong movement could cause the entire chamber to flood or collapse. Whoever designed it had not intended the vault to be easily accessed. They had intended to guard it. The sophistication of the craftsmanship seemed far ahead of what would typically be expected in the 14th century. Maritime engineering specialists who later examined the design immediately recognized similarities to pulley systems used on seafaring vessels for anchors and cargo handling. That observation led to a striking conclusion. This was likely not the work of ordinary builders, but of seafaring Templars who carried their naval expertise across the Atlantic and applied it underground to construct a fortified repository. The discovery reshaped Rick's entire understanding of Oak Island. The layout was not random. It reflected principles of naval engineering, suggesting it had been designed by sailors determined to conceal something permanently. While debris was carefully removed, Rick summed up the team's growing concern with a single observation. We're not dealing with a vault meant to be found. This one was built to destroy itself if someone tried to force entry. The idea quickly took hold, and the crew began referring to the structure as a guardian mechanism. Every adjustment to their drilling equipment became a calculated risk, with vibration levels constantly monitored to avoid triggering a destructive reaction. Yet the underground defenses were only part of a larger design. The rest of the puzzle appeared to exist above ground. Using advanced LiDAR scans of the island's terrain, researchers detected something extraordinary. Beneath dense vegetation and uneven ground lay a deliberate arrangement of carved stone markers. These stones were not natural deposits. Each had been intentionally positioned to form a precise geometric pattern stretching from Smith's Cove through the money pit and toward the swamp. When the layout was digitally reconstructed, it formed a perfectly proportioned cross. The design seemed both symbolic and functional, with each intersection corresponding to excavation zones or underground features that had previously been dismissed as natural anomalies. When Marty overlaid celestial mapping data, the alignment revealed something even more astonishing. The configuration closely matched the Orion constellation, a star pattern, long associated with medieval navigation charts used by seafarers, including those connected to Templar traditions. Rick watched silently as the pattern appeared on the screen. The money pit, Smith's Cove, and the newly located vault lined up almost exactly with Orion's 3 central stars. The realization was profound. Oak Island was not simply a hiding place. It appeared to function as a large-scale astronomical code embedded directly into the landscape. Every shaft, chamber, and artifact seemed to be positioned as part of a carefully planned system protecting one central location. As excavation continued along the newly mapped cross-alignment, drilling eventually broke into another hollow space. This chamber differed from the others. Its walls were smooth, constructed from polished limestone rather than timber or rough rock. At its center stood a sealed archway carved with a striking emblem, a fully opened rose surrounded by intertwined vines and layered crosses. The symbol closely resembled the rose cross motif later associated with the Rosicrucians, often considered spiritual successors to certain surviving Templar traditions. No one answered. Every camera in the room remained focused on the single chalice resting beneath the lights, its shadow stretching across centuries of legend. Word of the discovery spread rapidly. Within weeks, official envoys from the Vatican's Department of Sacred Antiquities arrived, requesting high-resolution imaging, metallurgical reports, and authentication studies. Their inquiry was not casual. It was formal, discreet, and highly deliberate. Thanks for watching. If this discovery fascinated you, don't forget to subscribe for more extraordinary explorations and hidden chapters of history.